Welcome back, everybody, to our highly anticipated part 2 of our interview with Ness from Bobby's Pole Studio, who is now going to tell us all the things we want to know about the Miss Pole Dance Australia competition. Welcome back, Ness.
Hey. So MX is basically amateur semi-pro, is that right?
Yeah, we call it amateur, but it really is semi-pro. They're high amateur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the selection process for that? Like, who's judging it? Is it the state organisers, or are you judging it, or how does that work?
Yeah, to judge anything anymore. Because you know what? If I was a judge, I would look at Felix and go, well, that's easy, obviously. Like, because you make it look easy. And when somebody's really struggling with something, I'm like, oh, it must be fucking hard. Okay, I'll give her a big point, So I'd be a horrible judge. Right? I'd mark you down, Felix.
Yeah.
Video judges. So no, I do not do it. I get somebody else to do it, like a panel. Sometimes it depends how many people are in it. So with MX, there's often like for a few years we've accepted everybody. I think we may have said to one person, look, you're too good for heat. You need to go in your state heat for Miss Pole. Like you don't belong in this category. But I think people now know where to position themselves, and they're not really applying for things that they're not good enough for. So we would get probably one person to look at all the videos and go, yeah, they're cool, they're all in. And that's no big deal. If there's any in question, then we would get another person to look at the video and kind of have a discussion about it.
Yeah. And you do the same for Miss Pole?
Yeah. Oh, no, actually, that's a bit different. Sorry. So when we get the state heat videos, we have a panel of the state heat organizer, most of which are super good, like amazing pole dancers like Felix and Candice, and people that I would trust to have an opinion on their person. Then we get Chili, who goes to all the state heats, and the winner from last year, who also goes to all the state heats, so they're in the mix as well. So we get those three people. I've got a spreadsheet, and they just kind of go through and say which ones that they think that they would put through, and then we kind of discussions with all of those people. Is this one better than this one? Should we put this one through or that one? And I feel bad because often it's like, well, it's the New South Wales comp or something, because we have quite a lot of people from New South Wales in it, sometimes a lot more than other states. But I try and not be biased. Like, this is a group of people telling me that these, so if number 5 in Sydney is better than number 3 in South Australia, total random, I just pulled that out. Oh, sorry, South Australia. But you know what I mean? They may get 2 in from South Australia and 5 in from Sydney.
Yeah. I mean, that happens with, I think, both yours and mine. That's how it is with like the really big comp. There might be, for me, Victoria is our biggest state for our style. That's what it is. And they're crazy good in Melbourne. They just are. So I might have 5 from Melbourne and 1 from the ACT. When you're getting internationals, you're looking for the best, right?
Yeah, and I think outside of the clear winners, the ones that win the division, it's like you said at the beginning, Nest, it's the best of the best. After that, it's not a ranking system at where you did your competition. It's a wider ranking throughout the whole of Australia. So it doesn't, what might not be evenly or equally distributed in numbers, because you're not looking at each state individually anymore. You're looking at a big pool of dancers, and it doesn't matter where they come from.
And that's why it's great to have the Chili going to all of them, because they can see it. Sometimes also through on a video, you get the energy and stuff. So they're actually seeing them all live, and they can go, "Yep, that didn't come across on the video, but that was brilliant."
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, you do lose a lot on the video.
Yeah. So with, I guess, Miss Pole now, there seems to have been, and in the last year was very, very noticeable, a huge change in the competitors that are going through to nationals. Can you tell us about that change and how you see it?
Are we talking about styles, stylistically?
Like people. Like there's been a huge... So all the OGs and stuff don't seem to be competing anymore, but we've got all these fresh faces.
Fresh faces. Yeah. I can't tell you anything about it, though. They're all nice. I don't know.
Excellent. Good chat.
Yes. New people. Yes. Well, upcoming, you've got the 20th anniversary of Miss Pole Dance Australia. So that's this year, is it?
Just let the secret drop now. So
Yes.
every year, all past winners are invited back. They get entry, like automatic entry. And often they don't, but sometimes they do. So we just went out to all the past winners. It's totally in the rules. It's totally legit. We just went out to all the past winners and said, it's 20 years. If you would like to come and, this would be a great year to do it. So we may have a bunch of the past winners competing or performing this year. Exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. They're not all competing, right? Because some of these people have won like a decade ago. So they're coming and they just will be performing if they're not competing. Are they doing a solo show?
Yeah, I think we haven't worked out the details yet, but it's going to be exciting.
It's like the OG competition where we don't really know what's happening. Just gonna do some stuff.
It's all going to be surprising to including me.
Nobody's going to bring a costume. Candice has them in her locker.
Get ready, Candice. So, is Miss Felix Cane competing in this competition?
I don't know. We haven't. Yeah, you are right.
Competing? I am.
Yeah.
Am I?
I'm asking you. We haven't discussed this. I just
competing
thought about it just then.
You put me on the spot. I got another sweat. Ness, this has been the most nerve-wracking interview I've ever done. What do you mean competing? I mean, I'll chuck a spatchcock on, no problem. I can do that now, but I don't know. I have to make a decision, a better decision when I can actually do an invert, which is not yet, because as you may or may not remember, I just gave birth. So let me confirm or deny this rumor in another 3 months.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We'll bring it back on this podcast. It'll be an exclusive on here if Felix is competing in Miss Pole Dance Australia this year. I personally would like to see it. What about you, Ness?
Yeah, of course, 100%. A lot of the past winners actually said, can I just perform? But like, if I do really well, can we just say that's competing? Can I just...
Can I opt in after the fact?
Oh, that's great. Can we have an exclusive on who's coming back, Ness?
Sure. When I know for sure.
When you know.
So
yeah.
We'll get it off you, Ness. We'll do an update. We'll do a part 3 and super anticipated part 3.
Miss Pole's been running. Did we say, are we up to 21 years, or is that this Bobby's is 21 years and Miss Pole's 20 years? What's the future for Miss Pole?
You know, that thing that I said that I would love to have the 5-year, 10-year plan, and I don't have that. I don't know. Run it, do some live streams, get some cool people. I don't know.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be so hard to just stop it now, wouldn't it? Like it's just part of our industry, and it's so huge, and it's become so much huger over the years as well. And it's the longest running competition in the whole world. Like it'd be difficult to not run it.
For sure. In the past, like in my moments of like, oh, I've got half an hour, let's think about what I can do to, I'm like, I'm going to go to every country and get there, the Miss Pole people, and we'll have a world final. And the next day I wake up and go, okay, don't worry about that.
I understand.
Absolutely. Like, I'll write it all down and like who I'm going to contact and do deep dives on each country, which is the best girly pole studio and stuff. And then, whatever.
Yeah.
Too hard. There's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah, that's it. What I would love to know is your criteria, how you came up with that and what you're actually looking for every year.
The criteria came from the Worlds. I believe he gave us the judging criteria, and they work. I was out of 15 or something, and then we kept getting too many ties, so we made it out of 30. We just doubled everything, and then we still got ties. And then now I think it's at a 60. But we just, it's the same criteria. It's just we make it, and we still need to get ties.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Everybody's really good.
What you're looking for, like for the winner, the style of it. Obviously, it's very showgirl.
Yeah, showgirl.
Yeah,
that's right.
and that was part of my question. To sort of point out, but also ask a question that Miss Pole Dance Australia traditionally has had a very like specific style, which is like I would say OG Australian style, showgirl, very like I want to say with a lot of finesse and a very put together show with the extremely strong showmanship as well. So I think that what the question I'm going to ask is, something about that.
If it's anything to do with the moves, I don't know.
No, it's not the moves, it's the style. Because like the Bobby's Award that started last year, which is the Bobby Showgirl. I think the question is starting to form in my head, but is stylistically, I think Miss Pole Dance Australia would have been very heavily influenced by Bobby's style herself, right? And maybe how that's different to, like, say, an APC winner who is like technically accurate and has to have all the showmanship as well. But like, where are the differences? And I suppose I have the two most perfect people to ask right here is that what is the difference between a Miss Pole Dance Australia and a winner and a Australian Pole Championships winner? Like, what are the differences between those two? Stylistic.
Oh, you have to answer that one. I don't know.
Okay. I think, and you correct me if you're wrong, Ness, I think yours it's really very much showmanship. So how big is the show? How engaging is the show? How are we drawn to it? On top of that, you also have to be good at pole. But overall, you're putting on like a big spectacular show. I think for APC, it's like what Felix has just said. Technically, who is the best pole dancer, who also puts on a show, but our tricks, transitions, combinations, lines, extensions, all of that are worth 50 points. So it's a huge, big chunk of it. We've got 30 points dance, so you have to be able to dance in APC, and then we've also got 20 points showmanship. But our 20 points in the showmanship is much less than I think what the Miss Pole is. Miss Pole is big, spectacular, exciting, and you basically just want to watch this, but they're not just a showgirl. They're an incredible poler as well. Is that what you would think, Ness?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I agree.
Nothing
to add. Well said. I think also the point system of Miss Pole is more heavily influenced by artistry. So, yes. And there is a lot of room for interpretation in artistry. So I think that on just purely points based, that competition is more artistry based, so performance, whether it's the showmanship or the engagement or whatever, they have more weight than in APC, which is more, I think, technically orientated.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it is. Have you had any controversy within, I guess, the competition in the time that you've run it?
I have a fishbowl memory, and it serves me very, very well because it really does. Like sometimes I'll be speaking to someone or talk about someone, and my husband will be like, "Did they do that, thing that wasn't great?" And I was like, "Did they?"
That's so good.
And I'm fine with that. So yes, I know there has been controversy, but I don't know. Fine. Nobody likes a tie. So we would never have 4 judges again. We had 4 judges when Cleo and Jetta won. And this was back in the day where they filled out a piece of paper and we would go backstage with the calculator, check their adding up and then add everything up together. Anyway, it was a tie. I took the judges backstage and went, okay, I need a show of hands. Like, what about poll? Like, we base it on poll, who was better at poll, and it was 2 and 2. And then I went, okay, what about show? Like, show me who was better at show, and it was 2 and 2. And I was like, that sucks. So we had to crown them both the winner, and that neither of them was happy. It's a sucky thing to kind of share it with, I think. Yeah, that was sucky. So we always have 5 or 3 now. Five the big ones. Because I'll do a show of hands for a tie because I just don't like him. And then another controversy was the horrible thing that happened. The girl that was being the flight attendant, and she had all this voiceover stuff, and for some reason the voiceover didn't work. So she was like doing the flight attendant stuff, and there was no, it was just music or something. I didn't even watch. She came out and she was really upset, and I was like, and that her boyfriend was really cranky. It was just horrible. It's not really controversy, that just the stuff up. She came on back after intermission and did it again with the voiceover, and it was great.
In a period of 21 years or 20 years, that's not so bad. That they're the two things that stick out in your mind.
There was some controversy, like someone was cranky online and was like, it's rigged, or it's Bobby's, I don't know, because Bobby's teachers won for quite a long time, like first 10 years or something.
Yep.
Promise, they were just better.
Yeah, but also like it's the longest running pole studio, so you have the most experienced pole dancers there, and if you're a good pole dancer, maybe you're going to go train at the best studio.
Yeah, that. But somebody online that I knew wrote this really scathing review of this pole, and I just wrote a comment saying I'll give you a call because I don't want to get into it online. It's stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Text, and they never call back, and I'm like, if you got something to say it to my face.
I agree with you 100%. I think there's a lot of like hiding behind what are they
keyboard warriors.
Yes, that's the one. Keyboard warriors. When you feel really brave and you can say things to your phone, but not to somebody's face. Like I've had the same experiences where the person that's complaining about you to their audience, and that they have your number in your phone. So why don't they just call you and say, hey, this is how I feel about this, or text if it's scary to call, but you can directly deal with issues in a productive way instead of voicing your opinion to the ether and it not being productive at all.
That's it. But I think I do actually remember that, Ness, when that happened. I was heavily into competitions and running my own and all that sort of stuff at that point in time. People don't realise that organisers are not the ones that are judging. You have judges. You had a judging panel. They were the ones that were making that decision, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And I wasn't cranky. I wouldn't have been cranky on the phone. I just, I'm happy to hear you out and tell you my side and done deal.
Yeah, and also if you're feeling like that, are there other people that feel like that? And why do they feel like that? Because that's not the truth.
But look, I think right now with Miss Pole, same with ABC, let's face it, it's anyone's game. There's all these new up-and-comings that are incredible. Then we've got these OGs coming back that are absolutely, obviously proven and incredible. So it really is anyone's game.
The moves are just getting ridiculous. It's just nuts.
You've already built such a lasting legacy in the pole world. When you look back, what are you most proud of?
I guess the amount of people that I speak to that I just changed my life. I was in a bad way. I felt like my body, or I was just finishing it by too big or too little or too whatever. I was in a bad way, and it makes me happy. It makes me whole. I've got a community here. It's super, all those kind of stories about how it affects people and how they view themselves. And I remember, you see a beginner come in with long shorts and a little bit nervous. And then 8 weeks later, they've got their shoulders back and they're wearing some heels and they're looking good and they're feeling good, those transformations and those comments from people, that's just really special, right?
Yeah. And especially because how that feels, was who you were. That was who I was. Like, you know how that feels when you have that magic of pole first touch you and you're like, I love this. And so, yeah, giving that back is so, and you changed my life as well, Ness. Like, I for sure would not be Felix Cane if it wasn't for you and for Bobby.
Like, do you ever reflect on how big of an impact you've had and how much you've created for the industry and how it's affected so many people? Like, do you ever celebrate your wins?
I'll have a glass of champagne on Friday for our 21st birthday. No, all the things that I've done. No, like, I need more students, mate. Like, where'd they go? Like, you know.
I'll tell you where they went. All these pole studios are opening every 5 seconds. That's where they went.
That mirror cracked, or can it wait a while longer? Like, I don't know, you know. I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Well, I'm eternally grateful.
Yeah, I think you have really launched some world famous pole dancers, not just from your competition, but also from your studio. And I think there's so many polers that you've put into this big spotlight that have amazing careers and are doing something they love because you've given them a platform to do it on. And the world knows who, if anyone wins Miss Pole Dance, the world knows who they are. And I think that's a really big thing.
Yeah, you don't need to do the world competition because you already own it.
So do you want to say anything to us, Ness? Have you got anything that you want to say or talk about, or maybe with this upcoming year?
Buy tickets. Don't open a pole studio. Don't open a competition. The world doesn't need any more competitions. And if you want a pole studio, make sure you're really far away from any other pole studio. But just don't do it. It's harder than it looks. You don't just add up your students times the tuition and then that's it. Oh, look, they must be rich. No. It's a lot. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Just leave it alone.
Great advice, Ness.
Oh, you heard it here first, ladies and gents.
Don't do it.
It's really hard.
It is really hard.
Ness, thank you so much for sharing all of those wonderful journeys and insights. And it's been a joy talking to you. Thank you for being here with us. And we hope that everyone tunes in for the next one.
Thanks, Ness. Thanks, guys.
All right, that's all we have today on this episode of Pole Obsession. A great big thank you to Ness for joining us and sharing her incredible journey. We would also like to take a moment to honor Bobby. Her incredible vision and style laid the foundation for everything we love about Australian pole today. Rest in peace, Bobby. We miss you dearly. If you are loving these deep dives into the pole world, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us on socials for all the latest updates. Until next time, stay fierce, stay spinning, and keep the obsession alive.